Hey everybody, welcome to Before College TV. I'm Harlan Cohn with another college conversation. Tonight, I'm with David and David and David and David and David. No, I'm with Flor, Raul, and Rosa. We only have two Davids, and I'm talking with students from the University of Washington. All of these students have something in common. David T, what is it that you have in common? Do you know what that is?
Being in the gear program.
Yes, I think that's one of the big ones that you have in common. You probably have a lot more in common. Rosa, what else do you have in common? Because you know each other better than I do.
I believe first year generation students.
So you're first gen students, which is amazing, incredible. And you're a senior, right, Rosa?
Yes.
Yeah. And Flor, what else do you have in common?
We're all graduating this year.
So are all of you graduating this year? No,
Sorry.
that one is wrong. I'm sorry. You will not advance to the next round. No, but you're graduating. So Flor, you're graduating. Rosa, you're graduating. David T, are you graduating? That's so unbelievable. Oh my gosh. Are you all nervous about that? Yeah. David, yeah, it's like another big change because you've been through these big changes, but you're going to be amazing because if you can go from high school to college and graduate, like you could do anything. I was talking about this before we started. Like you're amazing. You're incredible. You all have that in common as well. David C, is there anything else in common you think that I've missed?
Did you mention they're all probably University of Washington?
Did we mention that? We might have hit on that, but I think there's even more because some of you have been part of the camp program. Is that right? A bunch of you. Some of you are engineers. Who's an engineer? Raul and David. So, and then David Telix, what's your major?
Food system, nutrition, and health.
Food system, nutrition, and health. That is fascinating. I mean, not that the other stuff isn't fascinating. I mean, being an engineer at the University of Washington is like, I mean, being in CS is incredible. But being a food engineer, what's your dream job, David T?
Well, I was trying to go into policy work when it comes to like just the food system in general when it comes to like schools, but I got really more interested in schools now, so I'm looking into the future for that.
Like doing what with schools?
Right now I'm gonna be doing a graduate program, so it's a master's in teaching, and then try to move on to a PhD or another master's program that it comes to administration work when it comes to schools.
Oh, that's amazing. So do you want to be a superintendent? Do you want to be like a president of a university? Like, what are you thinking?
I was thinking more superintendent wise, but I have to see, like, that's a really long time until we get there. So, plans can change.
Well, that would be great. I have no doubt in my mind. Like when you say that, I believe with absolute certainty that you will be a superintendent. You kind of look a little superintendent-y. Don't you think, Flor? Can you see David wearing like a suit or, making some, enforcing some rules, coming down on people? Because David and Flora, you know each other pretty well, right?
Yeah, we do.
You grew up together.
Kind of. We went to high school together.
Yeah.
I would think so. And Rosa too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Raul, though, you did not go to Mount Vernon. You're from Toppenish High School.
I went with the other David, though.
You and the other David. So you were wreaking havoc, making trouble in Toppenish in the valley. And then across the way, there was David, Flor, and Rosa. Okay. Well, this is good. We're going to get to know each other, and I'm excited to hear more about you and your experiences. And we want to help students who are going through this, who haven't quite been there and haven't quite done it, because you know what it's like, and you've all been incredibly successful doing it. I don't know if you feel incredibly successful. What about Raul? Do you feel like you've been incredibly successful?
I would say yes. I was mentioning earlier, it's kind of hard to like think about it for yourself, but it's nice when other people tell you that. So it feels good.
Yeah, these guys, they don't give themselves credit. Like they don't give themselves enough credit. I think because you're like so busy working through it that it's hard to recognize it. But going from high school to college to graduating, being able to pay for college, being able to move away, find new friends, deal with life, teachers, finding your places in a new community, like that's hard stuff. Like that's really dealing with grades and passing and all of that. So I'd love to get into to just what it's like to go through all of these changes. But I want to start off in high school. I would love for everybody to get a sense of just who you are. So in the most stereotypical way, okay, if you could just go back to high school, David and Raul. So, you know, you're from the same high school. You both are from Toppenish. David Cueva, if you could go back to high school and just describe you, kind of like stereotypical you, give us a sense just so we can get a flavor so people who are like you can identify with you.
Sure. I said probably more like a bookworm. I was like very education oriented. Like I'd always want to go in and try to learn as much as I could because I had always planned on leaving the valley eventually to like go and like go to school somewhere else. I didn't know where at the time. I just knew that like that there were a lot of people from the Yakima Valley who also tended to stay in the Yakima Valley for the rest of their life. And well, I didn't really quite want that to be me. So like I already knew that that basically from that time on that I wanted to do something more. I wanted to get out. I wanted to do something great for like my community. I wanted to go out and do something that would make my parents and family proud.
So you wanted to get out of the valley. That was really important. And why was it so important for you to do that? I mean, you did it, but I'm
Mhm.
curious, like, what was the reason behind that?
Well, like first and foremost, I wanted to see what other opportunities there were out there. So like in the valley, my parents and I we had to work in the fields for basically most of our whole life, and that's what the Yakima Valley mostly is. It's a lot of agricultural work. And while it is good for what it is, it wasn't something that I saw myself doing for the rest of my life. I wanted to see what else there was out there. I wanted to go and explore new places. I wanted to go out and meet new people instead of the same people I've seen my whole life. So it was for me more, just more or less trying to gain new experiences, trying to meet new people, trying to learn about new cultures and whatever.
Yeah. So what were you, I've been out there and I know you've got a lot of hops. It's like the hop capital of the is that of the world in the valley? You have a lot of
Something like
hops?
that.
Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah.
You got a lot of hops. What was the thing that you were what were you guys were you harvesting onions? Was it apples? Was it cherries? What were you working on?
Yeah, so I would usually work during my vacation. So basically, during summertime, we'd go pick cherries, and then in the late summer, that's when pears would start. And then usually early fall, we start like picking apples and stuff. And well, I didn't work during winter or spring, but during that time, my parents would work in sort of like pruning orchards and sort of like in the grape vineyards as well too. So that's
So
sort of what my family did year round.
so your parents were out there working in the fields
Yeah,
day and night.
every single day.
Yeah, that's really are there any other parents who worked in the fields here? So Rosa, yours as well, and Raul. What about you, Flor? Were you saying yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and David, you too?
Yeah, but it was like way in the past.
Yeah, but that's just exhausting work, right, David? Like, I
Yes.
mean, I don't think people recognize just how hard that is on your body and just you are just working like
Mhm,
in very uncomfortable conditions, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't want to do that. And I mean, it's really fascinating to see all of you, and I see why I'm sure your parents are incredibly proud. Are they just like to the moon watching your success? Yeah. It's an amazing thing to see that. So, okay, cool. I got a little sidetracked, but I just get so excited about that part because It's just where you are and what you're doing. And there's lots of wonderful things to do. But seeing the path is really exciting. Okay. So, Raul, give me a little bit, a quick little stereotypical summary of you. You're shy. Are you involved? Are you an athlete? Are you like studying? What are you doing, man?
From my perspective, I would say I was very similar to David. Always trying to be in the classroom. Like even before the classes started, I was already in there. Either at least playing in the computer, but already in the class that I was gonna have. And I also something else that I did often, and I think people the main thing that a lot of my grade peers recognized me for was like I was part of the soccer players squad. I would say I would hang out with all my friends, and we all like playing soccer. So that I think that's what people recognize me for. Very few of them knew like that I would always try to be grinding and trying to do good in my academics. Something similar to Dave that I wasn't gonna let David get rid of me and leave me behind in Toppenish. So yeah, I was trying to get out of the valley too.
So you're secretly studying, not making a big deal about it.
I wouldn't say secretly because a lot of people would see me go in the classrooms and stuff and like stay after school with teachers, getting the homework done. But in general, those who didn't know me close, they thought I was just a typical soccer player that didn't care too much about their grades.
Yeah, that's cool. That's exciting. Rosa and Floor and David. So you were what do you say? I know David and Earl, you were in the valley. What do you say like on the other side? How do you refer to like Mount Vernon and that side of the mountain? What do you say?
I just refer to everything across the mountains as the Seattle area.
Okay. It's just the Seattle area. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But Mount Vernon is, I mean, it's a little bit north of the city. I mean, you're kind of in your own community, right? I mean, it's a very rich community in terms of culture. And I think that you get a lot of similar types of people in that community. Is that right, Rosa?
Yes.
Yeah. So Rosa, take me to high school so people can describe high school you or describe high school you to me.
Um, Same as I feel like I did mostly a lot of class stuff. So I'm usually like straight A students. I always did my homework, all those things. But like during junior sophomore year, I focused more on leadership work role. So I did a lot of leadership in the school. So doing homecoming, preparing for that, and then I did a lot of advocating. So in migrant leaders class, I did a lot of advocating for migrant workers. So we did a lot of public speaking. We went out of state. I went to New York to do like presentation to the high school over there. So I did a lot of those things.
Wow, that's so cool. You got to go to New York and they paid
Yeah.
for your trip, right?
Yes, they did.
Right. That's so cool. Like a free trip to New York.
Yeah, it was a lot of each year we did different states. So some were New York, other was Florida, some I think Kentucky and stuff like that.
What club was this?
Migrant Leaders Club.
Nice. So that still exists, right?
Yes.
Good. So if people want to travel the United States for free, I mean, you gotta do work, but like that's so cool. So you're doing that, right? Like what a
Yeah.
perk. I don't think people get that. Like you can do that stuff. All right, cool. So you were studying and you really wanted to go to college, and that was important. All right. So Flora, tell me, because I know you and Rosa were friends, right, in high school, right? So tell me a little bit. Were you not friends in high school?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
were
were.
friends since middle school.
Oh, you've known each other forever. Okay, this is good. So I'll be really curious to hear your journey together. You can share secrets about each other. This will be good, right? Because people want to hear that, right? We want to hear like the real story. So Flora, give me a little bit of a summary of high school you.
Well, honestly, I feel like in high school I was like a quiet and shy person. Like I feel like honestly I wasn't a very ambitious person just because like I feel like I haven't been given like opportunities to like try stuff, but also because like even if I were given opportunities, I wouldn't like take that opportunity just because like I guess my personality, like I didn't really push myself as much until like senior year, I actually try to like, get out of my comfort zone.
So you were not motivated. You didn't really
Not
care that
yeah.
much before, but you did well enough to get good grades, it seems like.
Yeah, I did.
But
I
you didn't
just pretty
really,
much yeah, I just pretty much did like the stuff because like I was supposed to do it.
right. So you did well, you kind of skated by.
Yeah.
Got lucky. You didn't have much ambition, but you just did your work, This is good because like, but there could be students. It's like, if you don't have a lot of ambition, at least do your work, because you might decide you want to do something senior year. And then you'll be like, wow, like I did well enough to get into a good school, right? And you probably got money, I imagine, too, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right. So this is great. You had no ambition. You worked, but you got your work done. And I'd say that joking because clearly you did have ambition. It's just, I think there wasn't something you were really passionate about. Like you got your stuff done, but really finding a passion can take a while, but you got it done. And that's great. Okay. David T, tell me, give me a little bit of high school you.
Honestly, for me, high school was like all over the place. Like my beginning years, I worked a lot just because I had to. I was just helping out family. And then I started like getting some momentum with friends and being able to be outside my comfort zone. And so I was able to like just make friends through programs like that I would volunteer to, and I'd see friends there. But also I started like trying to we even made a gaming club just to like do that during like our junior and senior year. I started talking to more people outside my friend group. That's when I started meeting like Flora and Rosa as well. Honestly, through like other classes that I kind of wasn't that motivated to take. It was like biology and anatomy and physiology was another class. I feel like I just had to like break out of my comfort zone just because I would always put that mindset I had to work. Like, I don't have time for everything else. I was just like, oh, work and school. But then like trying to manage everything else really pushed me to like, continue on to apply myself and continue to university just because, I don't know, I felt like it was much easier with like people around me than just doing it by myself.
Yeah. So I want to learn how you were able to get to college. And I know that Gear Up played a pretty big role for a lot of you and really helped you to figure this out. I'm curious to know if you have, siblings or other people who helped you. Um, Actually, the sibling part isn't as important. What I think I want to focus on, a little bit just on what you remember about Gear Up, how Gear Up helped you through field trips, through FAFSA, through helping you just think about college. Let's see. Is there someone who has really good, strong feelings about Gear Up and the experiences you had through maybe even robotics, through some of the early engineering programs? Raul, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, something that I always recall back to my senior year of high school. It's when I would be applying for a lot of scholarships, they would do scholarship nights, and they would provide like food. So I would always stay after school because I had robotics. And before I would go to robotics, there was like this 30-minute period. And even after robotics, sometimes my dad wouldn't be out of work, so he wouldn't be able to pick me up. And so I would stay for the Gear Up nights, scholarship nights. They'll be providing snacks and food, so might as well stay and apply for the scholarships. They would be bribing us, I would say, but it ended up being a good thing. I ended up getting quite a few scholarships. And something else was whenever I never had a printer. So, and I didn't know there were like apps for scanning. I ended up getting my first smartphone like sophomore year of high school. I didn't know there were these apps to scan. So when I had to upload documents and like I needed some documents scanned or something like that, I would stay after school and I would go to the Gear Up office, and then Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Ochoa, who were in charge of Gear Up, they would help me scan stuff and then just send it to me so that I would be able to have it in my Gmail and stuff.
Nice. So those nights, the scholarship nights, made you a lot of money. How much in scholarships do you think you received?
I'm fully funded, I would say. So I would say about 30K, which is what you the average charge is per year. So 30K per year, which ended up being pretty good.
Plus the snacks.
Yeah, plus the snacks and the pizza and all the memories they helped me make there.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And I don't think people recognize that. Did you realize how helpful Gear Up was at the time, or was it just something that you kind of just thought was something everybody?
At the moment, I was just aware of the help, but I wasn't like fully aware of everything that was going on. And now that I'm here at UW, I think back to the time, and it's what I have really applied for the scholarship if it hadn't been because Gear brought it up would I have been able to submit those documents if it hadn't been because Gear Up scanned the papers for me, and just all this help. Now that I'm aware of it, like I think back to the time, and it makes me even more grateful.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. David C, do you remember Gear Up helping you, whether it's field trips or snacks or help with FAFSA?
Yeah, so I remember, like, I'm pretty sure like a lot of other first generation students can also kind of relate to this, but like the very first time that you're working on the FAFSA, it's like this really big daunting document where, like, you have to go and get your parents' tax information. You have to like find out what day they were married. You have to look into like their birthdays. You have to look at so many different documents, and like compare us to other students who have had parents that went to college. You'll be like, oh yeah, just do this and this. And then for us first generation students, we're like, well, how do we do this? We don't want to go and actually like mess this up. We want to be able to get as much money out of this as we can. So I remember that I would go to the Gear Up office every now and then and just like ask questions on like, hey, how do I do this section, or how do I do that section, whatever. And also another thing I also learned from them is that because both of my parents are undocumented and they don't have like a social security number, on one of the things that they have you do when you try to put in like your parents' social security number is the thing is you just put a bunch of zeros. But I didn't know about that. But it was a nice thing that they're able to tell me about that, because I feel that like a lot of the FAFSA isn't very like first generation friendly. There's a lot of things that you really don't know what to do, and it's pretty easy to mess up if you don't have like that sort of good guidance for it.
So if your parents aren't documented, and I know that that's a really sensitive area for lots of people, you can still fill out the application. You can still get financial aid. You can still go to college.
Mhm. Yes. So like for students that like, so yeah, like even if your parents don't have any citizenship or residency, if you are born here, you're able to fill out the FAFSA. But even if you're not, if you're in Washington State, you're also able to fill out the OWAFSA, which is sort of the FAFSA equivalent for basically everybody else. So at least here in Washington, there's like those two opportunities for people to apply for financial aid, which I think is pretty nice.
Yeah, I've heard of other students. I was talking to an undocumented student who said, he wasn't documented, so he couldn't fill out the FAFSA, but he
Mhm.
was able to fill out the WAFSA. And who was that? Victor. I don't know if you know Victor. He's like Victor's from Mount Vernon. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily know him. Do you guys know Victor? He's like a junior at Western Washington. He went to Skagit. He's amazing. Anyway, he's like everyone knows I'm undocumented. Because I'm like, can we talk about this? And it was helpful to hear that. And I think having parents who aren't documented, does that complicate anything for you? Are there other things that other students, may need to know or be aware of that they might not know, David?
Mm. Well, like I said, they're undocumented and they also basically only speak Spanish, so they wouldn't really be able to like read the FAFSA thing anyway, or like there'll be some sections where they'll be like, well, I don't know how to translate this in Spanish. It's a lot of like government lingo or whatever. So I feel that sort of language barrier can also be a barrier hindering like when you're doing the FAFSA.
But you got through it, and you got through it with the help of, was it Gear Up? Were there other people who helped you?
Yeah, with the help of Gear Up and some other friends that had also already done the FAFSA, sort of like it was that whole collective effort where we're like, I knew that there were some people I could rely to, and just like ask questions like hey, how do I do this part, or like how do I get the specific documents that I need to fill out certain sections of the FAFSA.
Asking for help, a lot of first gen students don't like to ask for help. They like to just figure it out, or just not do it because it's scary to ask for help. Were you able to ask for help? Are you good at asking for help? Um, do you, did you run into that problem?
And so I've run into that problem a lot because I think like for a lot of us, it's more of like a sense of pride for a lot of first generation students. Like they for like a lot of us, we all go through like some life experiences that sort of shape us into the way that we are today. And like during those times, it was like there really wasn't a lot of people to like to help us. We had to get through a lot of this stuff on our own. So that's why I feel it's hard for us to like ask for help since like since we've done it this way for a very long time and it's worked. That's why we sort of keep that same mentality. But like at the same time, sometimes these things can become too much and you just have to set your sense of pride aside and ask for help. But even then, sometimes even to this day, I still find it kind of hard to do. But I try my very best to always ask for help whenever I really need it.
Is there anyone else who struggles with that, battles that asking for help? Anybody?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like in for me it's kind of hard just because like there's a lot on my plate sometimes, and sometimes like even talking it out with someone helps, especially like if you're just venting. But especially just asking for help sometimes it's like you can do it yourself, but at the same time like it's gonna alleviate you just asking for help. Like that's the biggest thing.
I don't see how anybody could get to where you all are without asking for help, especially if you're graduating. I mean, there comes a time where you have to do that, whether it's because your academics are slipping, because you need money, because you have to drop a class and you need help with something. And I would love to hear more about those experiences, those times you asked for help, because as I've done more and more of these, especially with first gen students, and I've done a lot of work with Gear Up in Washington. That part of like when you ask for help, people get so excited. Like people want to help you. Like that's the thing. It's like when you let people know you need help, like they open up, right, Flora? Have you found that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But being shy, you mentioned you were shy a little bit. So that's why I wanted to ask you, because when you're shy, it's even harder to ask for help, right?
Yeah, it is. Cause like mostly because like for me, I ever think like, oh, if I asked them again, like if I ask for somebody for help, I'm like, oh my God, what if they think that I'm annoying or something? That's what pops up in my head.
Are you annoying?
I don't think so.
David, Rosa, is Flora annoying?
No.
No, but even if you are annoying, who cares? It's like if you need the information, someone could think you're annoying, but if it's the information that's going to help you to get thousands of dollars, or it's the information that's going to help you get into a class, or the information that's going to help you to sleep at night, it's like if you think I'm annoying, then you're clearly not someone I need in my life, right? Because I love helping, and I think that you all are great examples of how you can get through that. Is there any other Gear Up help, whether it's through the field trips or through the engineering or robotics or any of the stuff, even going back to middle school? David or Raul or Raul, you already mentioned a bunch. But Floor, Rosa, do you have any Gear Up reflections or things that helped you?
I think for me, something that helped me was like them having space for us to come. Like I didn't really see the Gear Up as like someone like a counselor or advisor. I saw them more as like a friend, like something that someone that I look up to. Like I go to their office during lunchtime. I eat there with my friends. So I like it was more kind of like a family vibe kind of instead of like all going there just like professional stuff. So that kind of helped me more talking to them and talking to them about my situation. And from there they helped me like get scholarship, help me like apply to many. And I was always there. Like I feel like I always bug them during senior year. Like I was like, oh, this scholarship, I need this and that. And they helped me with that. So like I feel like generally feel that because of them I'm here where I am. And if it wasn't for them, I would have been here.
Was there anyone in particular who made it really easy and who was open or who was in that space when you were hanging out eating lunch that you could talk to?
Yeah, it was like all three of them. It was Mr. Espinosa, Mr. Fisher, Miss Baez. They're all were just really welcoming. And I always like how Mr. Fisher just like talk, just like give us just random information that he would just like tell you, oh, do you know this and that, and then, which was like really exciting, and we always look forward to that.
Flora, do you have similar memories?
Yeah, I think Mr. Espinosa had a time, I think it was like senior year, where he had a day set for like anybody that wanted to bring their parents to UW University, or who were like enrolled, who were going to be enrolled in University of Washington. And for me, that was really helpful because my parents haven't been to like Seattle, so that was like really something like really amazing for them to provide that for us.
So what did they do?
Oh, so Mr. Espinosa, like he was like he was giving us a ride to UW, and just like we were like having a tour there.
What was the tour like?
It was really exciting, and my parents really liked it because like they never been there. They're like, wow, amazing. You know?
Yeah, do you remember anything from the tour, or from having your parents on the tour that day?
I guess it was kind of like exciting because like, and kind of for them it was kind of like, oh my god, like, you know, you're gonna leave like to college, you know, you're not gonna be home and stuff.
I think that's also a real challenging issue for a lot of parents, especially parents with really strong family structures and cultures. Were your parents, were they worried about their daughter going to this big city and being in this big campus and, you know, just being out there?
Yeah, they were also telling me like, oh, why don't you just stay here, do community college, you know? I'm like, no, I just want to go out and explore.
Yeah, is that something else that David did, that both Davids did, that did your parents want you to go?
Yeah, honestly, because like for my situation is just like my mom is really like attachful, but that's just you know, her mental health and stuff like that. But it's kind of hard, like just because of the family values that they have with like everyone being so close, especially other family members, tias, uncles, all of them together in a space, all of them being unified, really strong, and then having, you know, being all the way over here compared to like being always close with family definitely does, you know, put them trying to like make us come, like, well, especially me, like come back home or visit a lot of times. But you know, there's a lot of priorities here, especially with school, that still have to get done.
How do you do that? And this could be for everybody, but David, I want to continue just following up on what you just mentioned. How do you do that when you have a family that you are so close with and the culture is so tight knit, but yet you have this life and responsibilities? You know, how are you able to balance that and to set these boundaries, and know that, you know, they might be upset with you?
Most of it just, I feel like it was kind of hard dealing with that the first quarter, just because like I feel like that was the hardest quarter for me, freshman year of college. But afterwards, it kind of came to the realization that it's not going to be easy for me, and if I keep going back home and dealing with a lot of stuff there, it's gonna, you know, send me back. It's gonna bring down my grades, you know, and that's the stuff like I didn't come for. Like I came here to get an education and, you know, excel as much as I can. And so I realized that I need to set boundaries. I need to be able to talk to them and communicate them in ways I haven't done before, just because, you know, it's the first gen kind of stuff. You don't talk. I feel like I don't talk to my family as much in that aspect. But when it comes to education, I was like, I really need to take priority in this. And
Can
it
you
just,
give us an example of what was challenging, like a particular situation that someone else who's going to go through this can relate to, and how you managed it? And of course, I want to respect your boundaries, but those family dynamics can be really tricky, and clearly you've been able to work through it.
I mean, in my case, I don't know if other people have been through it. I just, my mother suffers from schizophrenia. And so like in that aspect, she's really like, you know, she has mental state where she can go psychotic sometimes, or she needs therapy, but that really does tone down like other aspects of like, I need to like, kind of like, I can't control. I know that sometimes, you know, you can't control everything. And that's something that's really hard to grasp. For me, I would guess, but I know that other students might feel the same. It's kind of hard to grasp something that you can't control. You kind of just blame yourself, or you think that you can do something, but you realize that you really can't, and you can just try to do your best with whatever else you can do. And I feel like that's what I really took to heart.
Yeah. Did you have other family members who were able to help, who you said, can you help? I just can't do this right now.
Yeah, I had to really go back home, build like a whole like support system with my family to like be able to, focus on my schools and realize that, oh, back home everything's gonna be taken care of.
Yeah.
But if there isn't, there's still communication. But
I think what you're talking about is what so many students struggle with is my family needs me. My parents need me. I need to take care of the sibling. I need to work. I need to be able to help them financially. And what you're talking about is you need to take care of yourself, but then you need to figure out a way that they can be taken care of. It sounds like that's what you did, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think if there's anybody who is struggling with those same family dynamics, and it doesn't have to be the same specific diagnosis, but just a family who you feel really needs you. But this part of your life is you need to do things to invest in yourself so that ultimately you can be the best support in the future. Would you all agree with that? Um, Rosa, did you struggle with that, with the family dynamics?
Kind of. For me, my family, since I was the first one to go to college, like I have like three older sisters, and they all live like the farthest 10 minutes away from my mom. And for me to live an hour away from them, it was kind of like tough for them. They always wanted me to come visit them over the weekend, which I tend to do, but I found myself like kind of falling behind with classes, and it was just hard, like living, like I feel that I was living in two different worlds, like here in college and also over there where like I speak another language. So like that was kind of like difficult for me. And then I realized that I needed to talk to my parents and tell them that like I might not be able to come every weekend. I'll try like to do it once like in a while, but like do not expect me to come every weekend, which they like really understand. And then they like kind of like realize that yeah, she's not going to be coming every weekend, she need to focus on this. And then now I have like so much support from my parents, and then when I go they're like happy, but if I don't go, like they just call me, just check on me, but that's pretty much it.
So they were actually nicer and more understanding than you
Hmm.
anticipated.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really wonderful. That's really hard, especially when you're coming home every weekend and you're only an hour away. David and Raul, you don't have that problem because you're too far away to come home on the weekends. So like just that part of leaving home and being so far away. David, was that a struggle for you, or was that easy for you, or was it hard for your family?
Yes, I say definitely it was hard for my family at first because like it was like very far away. But then, as the time passed by, my parents basically just came to realize that like this is what I wanted to do. They realized that this would be good for the future that I wanted. Like this is part of the reason why my parents came to the United States in the first place was so that we could have these opportunities. And so the fact that I was doing this meant that I was taking advantage of every opportunity that I was given. So my parents were like happy for that. I also like, even though, yeah, so our place is like 3 hours away. So it's far enough where like I have my own life here, but it's not too far where like if I want to go home, I am still able to go home. It's like there's like a nice little balance right there, I feel.
Yeah, that's great. What about you, Raul?
Yeah, same feeling. My parents are kind of old, and just as David mentioned, they also work in the field, which is kind of tough. So coming back from work, I was the one that was usually once I was out of school, I would help my dad over the weekends, fix stuff, whatever the car broke down, I would help him fix it. And now that I'm not there, and when things go bad, it's like who's there to help them? So I had that mentality too, as David T mentioned earlier. And I was kind of worried, I was kind of worried because I'm not gonna be there anymore. So who's gonna be there to help them? And I do have a younger sister, but it's not the same thing because they also relied on me. So I eventually talked to them and had them comprehend. I get the feeling like a lot of us have this talk with our parents, where it's we had to let them know, hey, we have a lot to do at school, and uh, although we would want to be here, we would want to help and do as much as we possibly could. It makes it harder on us.
And did they understand right away?
Yeah, they were pretty understandable about that. They they told me to focus on my academics, and it would be fine to not worry.
But did you feel guilty?
Honestly, I did a little bit, but overall, as time passed by, I see them coming back to like understanding that I'm not there anymore, so they're not being as reliant as they used to be, and it's just like you get to grow with that, things that happen.
I think that might be one of the hardest challenges. Like that's one of the biggest changes is that I think especially being a first gen family, there's so much you do so much, from translating to helping to working to taking care of finances to just being such an intricate part of the family. For other students who are in high school and think I can't leave, I can't leave my family because they're not going to make it. What do you tell them? Is there a message for those students?
The only thing that I would say is if there's a will, there's a way. That's something that I often go by, because there's pretty much a solution for everything as long as you communicate and give it a try. And worst case scenario, if you really can't go that far away, you can always pursue some different type of education.
Yeah. Is there anyone who wants to add to that?
Yeah. When it comes to like, thinking that you're in that mindset that you can't go away or, your family needs you, I feel like you definitely can think of that mindset, but thinking about the future, like those opportunities that you're offered definitely can grow. Even if you don't think so, even if you just kind of like just stumble away with it, you'll see many doors open. You'll see how many opportunities just grew from just going to college or even going to like a community college. Like opportunities do grow. Like it's not just about finishing up college. It's about meeting people. It's about talking to people, looking at the resources, and like seeing that it's not just one aspect of classes. It's that whole well-rounded of networking, of people trying to help you, and all this other aspects are going to create doors that you really don't like get by just staying home.
Yeah. I mean, you all do so much. We're going to get into that because I think that part of when you leave, and you're not really leaving. I mean, you're just going away for short periods of time and you're still part of it. It's just a different dynamic, but you're able to meet so many people in so many places that ultimately can help you to be a resource in so many different ways. And also to discover all of these incredible opportunities that are available for not just you, but for your family. And I'm just looking, just at Raul, and I know that you have been involved with STARS, which is the Washington State Academic Program to support low-income first-generation students, and then CAMP, the Campus Assistant Migrant Program, and then part of the student organization, some of the SROs you're involved with SHAPE, and is it Avela? Is that right?
SHAPE, Avella, yeah.
Avella, and an EPE, engineering peer educator, and then EA, an engineering ambassador. And I mean, we're going to get into, so many of you have done all these things, but just speaking to what David was saying, once you're there, there's like, you meet so many people in so many different places that can ultimately help you because those people, a lot of them have ties to the communities where you're from, right? Is that all? That's all true, right, Rosa? 'Cause you're like shaking your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's great because you were just talking about, having to, coming back and being an hour away is probably even harder because the expectations of it's just an hour. Why can't you come?
Mm.
It's an hour. And then you talking yourself into it. And I'm sure, David, you dealing with all of the challenges having a mom with really specific needs and not being able to be there so that you could pass and succeed. Did you almost not make it? You were talking about your first year and it was
Oh
really
yeah,
hard for you?
honestly, my first year was crazy just because um it was also like the time with like because my WASPA got denied the first time,
Oh, no way.
but that was due to like my DACA coming in and then HB 1079 that you're supposed to submit for your residency was like confusing the residency office. And so like even from then I thought maybe I won't go to school. And I just felt like, oh, I'm just gonna have to work or do something else. And And then once it started, I was already scared since I was unprepared. They gave me such a late notice that I was accepted in. My financial aid came through. And then my mom's mental health kicked in a lot more just because like I was away. And this brought a lot of like, challenges just because that first quarter, instead of worrying about classes, I mean, I still did my classes, I still did everything. But one of the classes that really I wasn't excelling at, I was about to fail and I didn't know what to do. But the school, just because of the resources I kept asking for, like, and um, and like just asking for help from the advisors I had, especially for the Brotherhood class that I was in, they really were supportive about contacting and getting hardship withdrawal just for like that situation, just because the school knew that it was just like a greater situation out of my control. And so from there, I just had to like put that aspect of like how I said before, like I really got to focus on school and create a structured system back home.
So the Brotherhood Initiative is a group similar to camp for first year students or for students. How, explain to me what that is, because I think also for students who arrive on campus, understanding what resources are available, so
Mhm.
that if you have a situation come up similar to Gear Up, you have a community, because it's hard to meet people and find your way. So what's this? What's the Brotherhood Initiative?
So at first, there was this option of doing camp or doing Brotherhood Initiative, and Brotherhood Initiative was this other newer program at UW that's for men of color, like first gen men of color. And so they would do interviews and all these other stuff beforehand. So that way, once you're in your class, you're able to see like what aspects you bring to the table, but also like the diversity that was in for each men of color. And from there, they just kind of like taught us everything that our community kind of was neglecting, especially with like a lot of like the racism in our own little community, like especially in Latino community, toxic masculinity, all this other aspects that I kind of like never noticed, but also they would provide resources of what's available to us, especially the ones that were on camp, just because they were trying to follow that aspect, but more towards the whole broad of men of color that are at universities.
Did you have to try out or interview, or did you just get invited?
I interviewed because I saw that, well, camp, I saw that that was an option, but I wanted to see what other aspects there were. Just because camp said that you could do this other program, I really looked into it and I saw that there was an interview process. And so I took my chance to do it. And I was like, in case I don't get in, I still have camp and see what resources I can get from there.
Nice. So have you enjoyed that program?
Yeah. So it's usually like 2 years, but I only did 1 year just because of my major later on trying to like conflicting with classes. But it did really help with the resources on campus because the first quarter, that's what they tend to do. They tend to just show you all the resources available from study habits to exam preps and overall like what's available on campus, but then they move towards our own like inner aspects of us, our communities. What are we trying to bring? Why are we doing this? More questions that you usually don't ask yourself
Yeah.
or other people in your own community. And that really did help a lot just because it puts into perspective like what am I actually doing this? Am I going to change my own habits to like better myself, but also my community?
That's like deep stuff, man. That's like, I mean, that's like real. You guys were getting real very fast. And it seems like you like that, which is cool. You know, I like that because I think it makes it easier for other people to talk about that. I want to understand how you guys all got here, how you made it to UW, because I think a lot of people want to go, they get intimidated. It's also expensive, right, David? See, it's expensive,
Yeah.
right? It's not cheap, right? So I want to know if you can walk me through that. How did you get to UW? How did you get the money? How did you get in? If you could just kind of help us, and the more specific you can be, the better, because I want other people who are going through this to see, like it's like you could get there, right? Like you could totally get there.
Mhm.
David, did you think that you could get there? Did you always know you could get there?
Like I had an idea, but I just didn't know where I would end up. Like what, like one of the things I had to make sure, it's one of the things that my dad told me a lot is that make sure you have a plan A, plan B, plan C, just plan everything. So that's kind of the same mentality I had like going into like a lot of this. So like I think I had applied to like so many colleges like around Washington that I knew that I wanted to go to. Like UW was always at the top of my mind, but like I had to account for the possibility that like if I didn't get into UW, I want to have like something else to fall back on. So I had that. But eventually I did get into UW, and then after that, it was just a matter of like, how am I gonna get the money to pay for this? So then through like help of like Gear Up, and I remember I also had another friend in high school who we'd always kind of just like spend some time after school. We'd just go online and just like hunt for scholarships, and then we'll just help each other. Like, hey, I found this one, let's apply to it together, whatever. So like this sort of team effort of like helping each other, of like finding these resources online, and just applying to scholarships, getting that money, and just finding all those resources that would help me like
So
out
when
in
you
the future.
so when you got in and you got your financial aid letter, because they give you a letter, right? They give you an offer. So
Mhm.
for other people, you apply. And for anybody who's watching this, like apply to these schools, even if they're so expensive, right? Even if the
Mhm.
sticker price is absurd. And you don't just have to apply to schools in Washington, you can apply to any school. It's like, who cares? Just apply.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are intimidated, or they don't think that they could afford it. The thing is, the less money you have and the less money your family has, the more money people will give you. And it's like, I don't think it's
Mhm.
just amazing how many schools want to help you to get there. So I'm curious, David, with those scholarships, can you like run through a few specific scholarships? Like, how much did you need to go to college and how much did you get?
Yeah, so I don't quite remember how much I needed. It was just more like I saw a scholarship and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to go for it, and I got it. So one of the ones I remember getting, the ones that we found, was one called the Dell Scholarship, which gave you like 5,000 every year for 4 years.
The
And
Dell
then there was
computer,
another,
like
and then
Dell
the
computer? I'm
yeah,
sorry
the
to
Dell
interrupt you.
computer.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And there's this one that's local to the Yakima Valley. It was called, at least, I think it goes by a new name, but when I got it, it's called the Ameri Monroe Scholarship. But also gave you like a 7,500 a year
Wow,
for like 4 years, which was quite a bit of money.
that's like
And then,
$30,000.
yeah, and
That
then
is thirty
oh,
thousand dollars.
it's like something like that. I don't want to think about the math. But also I think another one that like is applicable for like students in Washington State that are doing STEM. There's one thing called the Washington Opportunity Scholarship. That's also like another, I think it's up to 5 years, and or like it's not a set amount every year. I think it staggers. I believe it's like 2,500 first years and second year too, and then once you get into your major, they'll like up the amount to like 5,000, and then maybe again to like 7,500. So like for me, it was like I really wanted to look for those scholarships that were renewable, that I knew would was basically
Right.
like provided me with money every 4 years, and that was like the main thing I wanted to do. But I would also like look for other smaller scholarships, because I knew that at the end of the day, it was like there really was no point in not applying, because when you apply for a scholarship, the worst that can happen is, well, they just say no, and the best that can happen is that you get a lot of money. So like say you spend like 3 hours looking for like scholarships, and you get like and you get a 5,000 one. You just made $5,000 in 3 hours, and that's the way that I like to think about when I was like looking for scholarships.
That's awesome. I mean, it's and that and some of those, if you're getting it year after year, not
Mhm.
only are you making 5,000 for 3 hours, you're making 20,000
Mhm.
for 3 hours. And then you could take your essays or whatever you have to write, and you can kind of
Mhm.
just change the names, right?
Yeah,
You just like you don't have to keep doing new scholarships over and over again. You do that,
yeah.
which is amazing. Do you have any loans?
No, I got enough scholarships where basically everything gets covered, and it's really nice.
That's amazing. Like that's so exciting. And that's just so cool. I want to know more from so Rosa, how how did you decide on UW, and how were you able to afford it? You know what? I need to go to Floor. Floor, you've gotten so little FaceTime here. I mean, this is just so unfair because every time I was like, I want to go to Floor. Floor has so much to say. And also, I love your story that you were like, you're like, you're getting your stuff done. You're like, I'm going to get my work done. But then you're like, oh, now I want it, right? Your senior year. So tell me that story.
Yeah, for me, I kind of like wanted to be like away from home, but not too far. So I think UW was the best choice because it was only like an hour away from Mount Vernon. And the way I like, luckily for our high school, there was a teacher that actually like worked and found to find scholarship for students. And for me, that was really helpful because I always go to her and ask like, oh, like, do you have any scholarships that you found? And she will have like a paper, like a list of scholarships that she found, and then I would just like look through it and apply for it.
Who was that person?
Um, Miss, I forgot her name.
Miss
Sorry.
Moyer.
Yeah, Miss
Who is it?
Miss Moyer.
Miss Moyer. Nice. Okay. We'll give a little, give some props to Miss Moyer for helping with the scholarships. That's great. So when you applied to UW, is that where you wanted to go? Were there other schools you wanted to go to?
Yeah, like I said, it was like not far, but like far from home. So I think UW was the best choice for me because like there was a lot, it was like bigger and it was like a lot more opportunities there.
So when you got in, did you know you would be able to afford it?
Not really, because since I come from a low income family, like I didn't really think about it because like I just always thought like, you know what, I'll find a way to like pay for it. So I just went with it.
And how did you find a way?
Scholarships, and I guess like for me, since like I was kind of working in my senior year, I was able to save up money, and like if I needed money, like I'll just pay the rest or just like ask my parents if they were able to help me.
Flora, you make it sound so easy. You're like, I'll just figure it out. I'll just find the money. Is that how your life works?
Basically, I kind of like worry about stuff later on when it gets serious.
Yeah. Do you ever have panic attacks or like breakdowns?
Um, I don't think so. I don't think I ever
Ah,
have.
well, I would have been surprised because you you don't spend a lot of time like stressed out about things you don't need to be stressed out about, and everything seems to work out. Like, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a very zen type of thing, but like I've been working my whole life to be like you, and I'm finally getting there. But I think it's nice to know that it can work out. Like it works out. You don't have to be so stressed out about it, right? Man, that's exciting. And and you're a senior now. Do you know what you're gonna do? What's your dream job, Floor?
I still have no idea. Just I feel like since like I said earlier, and since high school I didn't really have that much ambition. But like I feel like for me, like I'm kind of like behind from everybody else, but like I'm not really like too stressed about it just because I feel like I know I'll eventually like find what I want to do as a
Did you?
career.
Yeah, well, you'll figure it out. It always works out. Did you go abroad?
Yeah, I actually did. I went to Japan for the summer or 2018 to study
Whoa.
abroad.
See, like, I had no idea. I just figured I would ask because I'm like, you know, things just happen for Floor. So like you ended up in Japan. So can you please explain how you were able to study abroad in Japan?
Um, well, I applied for financial aid and they were able to give me like enough funds for me to like pay for it. And also there was a scholarship that they gave out for students who were studying abroad. I think it was like 2,500, and like I only needed to pay like 400 out of pocket. So eventually like it all worked out for me.
Wow. So you paid 400 out of pocket, and how long did you study in Japan?
Kind of like 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks. And then did you stay with a family or did you stay with a stranger or by yourself?
For the program, they provided like kind of like a dorm. They had like a dorm there, so I stayed in that place.
And how do you pick Japan?
Um, because at first in my first year, I kind of wanted to like study major in Japanese linguistics, and so I thought like like maybe I should just go and see if I wanted, or like just get experience from there and see how it is.
Right, because that's a natural thing. If you want to study Japanese, and you're just going to go to Japan, and because you'll just know you'll end up in Japan, Floor, you just end up in Japan. We have to stay in touch because it's fun. It's fun to watch. Rosa, is this how it works out for Floor?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, she just wants something, she goes for it.
that's awesome. And then do you get stressed out, Rosa, or are you like Floor?
Stressed out for her or stressed out for
For
myself?
you, for yourself.
Uh, kind of like I do internship. I started doing my internship sophomore year. So I did a lot of community going to the link rail and coming back. So I was just trying to manage my time to doing homework and then internship. And then I'm always like a person that likes getting good grades. So
Uh-huh.
when I see that my grades are kind of falling behind, like I stress out about that. And then I feel like I overthink so many things.
Is that true, Floor?
Um, kind of. I feel like Rosa, she always knows what she wanted to do too. Like even though like there's something like going on, she always knows what to do.
She figures it out, but
Yeah.
she gets a little stressed out about it.
Yeah.
Right, but figures it out. What kind of internship, Rosa?
I'm doing a dream project. So we go to either middle school, high school. So we go and work there for 12 hours a week, and then we help out doing like post-secondary stuff. So like high school, I help them with their college application, their FAFSA, WASFA.
Oh, so you're doing the stuff that Gear Up did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. And what's your dream job? Do you have one?
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Like I have two things I want to like go towards, like Gear Up, kind of helping out student with their college application, and also I want to be a counselor. Like in middle school, I had it when I was working at the middle school. I had a great counselor that was helping me. So and then she kind of talked about her role and everything. I thought that was really interesting. So I really want to go into that too.
Was that you were working there as part of an internship or when you
Yeah, internship.
That's cool. I think there's someone else who has a cool internship. Like who has an internship? Someone have an internship at Microsoft. Is there someone who's doing that? No? You do. Yeah, because I think Caesar mentioned something about that. I'm so interested in that. I want to learn about I want to learn more about the college. I'm going to just jump around for one sec. But David, uh, internship, how did you land this internship with Microsoft? Is this public knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds pretty sweet, man. How did you get that internship?
Yeah, so this was one of those things where so like for like a lot of internships in like STEM in general, it's like very hard to get into. So I remember I went to like a lot of career fairs, and like you have to, write out your resume in like very nice paper. I forget what it's called, but I remember it's like this very thick type of paper. You can't just like, print something out of a computer and send that in. I remember going to like a lot of those. I remember talking to like a lot of people. I remember applying to like hundreds of like companies, just hoping that like I would get like just hear back. I remember from like those 100, I heard back from like maybe 10. And then from like those 10, I had to do like some type of interviews. And then from those 10, none of them really got back to me. So it really got to a point where I was like, wow, this is really hard. Am I really doing any of this stuff right? But then there was another thing that they also teach you is the networking, where it's where like a lot of the internship, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So so I was also part of the stars program, and basically one of the like one of the advisors there basically told us is like, hey, we have this sort of opportunity at a Microsoft, and like we really encourage you to apply. So there was that sort of like point of reference. So I was like, well, I have this opportunity. I'm not going to try to waste it. So basically I am applied. I managed to get an interview, and I was like, and I just kind of learned through my past interviews about like what went wrong and what I could do better. And I was like, well, I already have my foot in the door, so now what I got to do is just kick this door down because I'm already like I'm so close. So I went to the interview. It went well, and that's how I sort of got into like into my internship. Just basically just having those connections, like knowing people, because you never know who might know someone that possibly might get you a job.
Right. Well, now everybody knows you. So you're like our hookup at Microsoft, which will be great. But that's so cool. I love your story because you're awesome at rejection. Like I love rejection. I don't love getting rejected, but the ability to get rejected, like you did that with your scholarships and you got thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. You sent out 100 applications for internships. You got 10 back, but then you didn't get any. Like you still didn't get any, right? Like that's brutal. And there's other people who got them, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't, which makes you question yourself. And then you talk to somebody who you knew through the STARS program, which that's an engineering program, right?
Yes.
And that's you gotta apply to get in that program, right?
Yeah.
What is the STARS program? Just for people, are you in that too, Raul?
Yeah, I actually heard about it through David and our other roommate from my freshman year.
Oh, so because David takes all these risks and gets rejected by everyone. He shares what he does, and you kind of get the rejection runoff. And that's awesome. I love that. So what is STARS, just for people who don't know what that is?
So I can talk a little bit about that since I was the EPE, as you already mentioned, for the STARS program, and I had to explain it quite a bit.
Oh, good. This is perfect.
And so the STARS program, the State Academic Register program here for Washington State at the University of Washington specifically. It's like the register program for athletes who take their first year, like sort of like just practicing, training, getting used to like the athlete life at a college. But instead of doing it for athletes, we do it for academia. So our first year, we spend it taking like preparation courses for calculus, for chemistry, for physics. And so they just pretty much prepare us. It does set us at a 5-year plan. So instead of taking 4 years, we have to take 5 years. But as David mentioned, they prepare you well enough. They help you with a lot of career preparation. And more than anything, you make a lot of connections and a lot of friends. So overall, it's for underserved students from Washington State who are pursuing engineering.
And how do you get in if someone else is like, I want to be part of the STARS program?
So there's an application. If you search them up on their website, you just type up UW STARS. It has a lot of recognition here at the university since it has proven to provide better graduation rates than for underserved students. So just search them up. I believe applications open in November and then they close in March every year.
Okay.
So you get to apply and then there's an application, some essays that you have to do. They can provide you a scholarship and then they provide you devices like laptops or whatever you might need. So yeah, it's very helpful.
So November so you arrive on campus that first quarter, then you apply. You don't do it your senior year in high school.
You do it your senior year of high school.
Oh, okay. So that's
yeah.
like, that's, so how did you know? You knew David? I'm sorry. I know that's, hold on. Well, anyway, who knows where we are in the screen, but David C knew about this and told you about this.
Yep, he was a connection from high school that landed in the STARS program, and
That's
then
sweet. So this guy, he just like does stuff. I love that. That's so cool. I love that. I love that whole man, that whole rejection thing and putting yourself out there. David C, how are you when it comes to dating and rejection? Are you single or are you in a relationship or is this none of my business?
I'm single, but I guess that's all I'll say about that.
That's all you'll say about that. Well, if you use this same approach with your love life, right? Because sometimes people can apply for scholarships and jobs and they're like, it's not personal, it's part of the process. But then when they take risks and deal with emotions and dating, and love, they have a very low tolerance of that. But I'm great with that too. That's how I found my wife. She rejected me on an online dating site. And then I magically met her at the UPS store. I approached her and she didn't run away. She was sending a fax, and at the time he needed to be there to actually get the fax receipt, so she couldn't leave. So she was kind of trapped. But anyway, I wrote a book on dating too. So I can send you that if you guys want. But it's all about rejection, you know, and being great at rejection. So, all right, let's go back. Let's see. But if you want to talk about that, we can change directions, you guys. We don't have to talk about the whole college thing and UW. We could talk about love, your love life. Raul, how are you doing with your love life?
It's difficult. It's complicated. You know, I'm staying busy with academics, and that's
right.
why I stay.
That's right. Well, you're engineers, man. You know, you're busy. You're busy. You're busy until someone throws themselves at you. Then all of a sudden you're not so busy, right? Maybe
I
not.
think I'm still busy.
But you make time. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? All right. I'm going to get this back on track. I want to know a little bit more. Raul, we didn't even talk about how you ended up at UW. Like how do you get here, man? What was the hardest part of the application process or of just getting here?
Overall, I didn't know much about universities, like in general, what it was or anything about it. And once I was in senior year, I was like, all right, crap, I have to apply to universities now. I knew of like the main four at Washington, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna apply for those. I'm gonna apply for the local community college, and then I'll see what's out there. Whatever accepts me, I don't know if I'll get accepted. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it, but I'll take my chances. And then it ended up being that that for UW, the UW application, because I knew David was here, so and some other friends as well. It was like, oh, I'm gonna put some effort into this one, and then I'll see what ends up happening. And yeah, I got accepted. And then, as you mentioned, once we get the financial aid offer, I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to pay a couple thousands, because I hadn't heard back from the scholarships or anything like that. So I was like, hey, mom and dad, like I got into UW. I really want to go there, but I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it. So I am probably gonna be in debt a couple $1,000, but I'm kind of like going for it, you know.
Yeah.
$1,000 at the end of the day. I'll eventually pay for it. But yeah, I eventually got the Costco scholarship. I heard about it, and that was my decision maker. They provide quite a bit. It's $10,000 every year for 4 years. So that's what pretty much helped me pay for the rest of the money that I needed.
Whoa. That's like that's like a big deal. You're like, oh, and I got the Costco scholarship. That's hard to get. Mickey's a Costco scholar.
Mhm.
And I got to talk to Mickey as well. Oh, that's cool, man. So you get a Costco executive card.
I wouldn't say executive card, but we do get some benefits from Costco.
Yeah, you get some. That's cool though. That's so exciting. So you got that $10,000. Man, I love these stories because you guys, you just apply and you're like, something good's gonna happen, right? And good things keep happening, and that's great. So that's cool. And David's a year older than you. David C's a year older than you, so that's why he was there, and you kept in touch with him, correct?
Yep.
So that's like another thing for any students. You see someone who's going to school who's a year older than you or 2 years older, and you talk to them, right? Like if there's anyone watching this who wants to go to UW or wants to be part of any of your organizations, because we're going to include all of these with you with these videos, can they reach out to you? Are you comfortable with them asking you questions? Yeah, all of you. Is it weird? Would it be weird, Floor, if someone asked you a question about going abroad, or would you be like, I'm happy to answer that question?
I would definitely be happy to answer any questions they had.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's wonderful for all Gear Up students, regardless of whether you're from Mount Vernon or from Toppenish, just knowing like these students, you know how to find the money. Like you found the money. And when you graduate, you're not going to need the money. So someone's going to get the money. And you also found a way to balance this. You found your places. You know, I want to know what happens once you get there. Once you get to UW and you're there, you know, how do you make friends? How do you find your places so that you can be supported? I know David T, you told us you found the Brotherhood Initiative uh, instead of doing the camp program. Camp's another program. Who is real involved with camp here? Is there someone here who camp really had an impact on your life?
For me, I was part of camp as well.
So Flora, tell us about camp and explain who is eligible for camp and what are the benefits of camp? How did it help you?
It's basically for people that come from low income family or people who have like family that work in farm working, students from migrant background, and they help with financial assistance and like as well give resources about UW and the things that you can do.
That's awesome. Raul, did you want to add anything to that?
They also have great academic services. They help you go through your classes for registration and all of that. And for like some of us who are new and have no clue how to register, like what you're supposed to do, they help you review your classes that you're going to be taking for the upcoming quarter, and they want to make sure that you're on the actual path to graduate.
So they like check in with you, and if you avoid them, they track you down.
They put a hold on your registration and
Really?
to see them.
So you need, right? It's not about asking for help. It's like you got to come in here. And then David C, you're in camp as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how did camp help you?
Yeah, so like sort of the sort of the similar thing that they talked about, but like also just having a community of people that are like you. I think that really helps a lot, because like especially going into a place like Amuda, where it's this big scary place where like you don't have a lot of people who look like you don't have people that have the same experiences as you. Having stuff like camp where you guys have that sort of shared experience, I think really helps a lot and really helps. And just being part of a club in general also makes it easier to sort of as to make friends too.
Yeah. Tell me more about some of the places where students can find other people who are from similar backgrounds, who look like them, who are going to walk into a place where everyone's like, "Hey, you're welcome here." And I have an idea of where people can find this, but I would love to hear it through your voices of where that hub would be on campus. Is there someone who can speak to that? David T, we haven't heard from you in a little bit.
I would say usually because I have like, I would say like the Ethnic Cultural Center that's located on West Campus is definitely a huge resource if you want to find that, like, the community of that you're looking for, just especially because there's going to be different people there, but everyone's, especially just because like how big UW is, sometimes you're like, hey, where's all the Latino people, or where's my people at? Usually they're able to hook you up with like resources, but also meeting people in general, because everyone goes there to hang out, everyone goes there to like eat, they spend time together. There's some programs there, especially the Leadership Without Borders Purple Group is there as well. It gives you like this whole other aspect of like home that you really didn't think of, but not just that. It's much more than just that. It's all this other components that come together for that.
So that's
building.
that's the ECC.
Yeah.
You're talking about, right? Because I've heard a lot about the ECC, and you walk in there, and people are generally nice, right? Like they're just welcoming, right? And you walk by, and there's offices with all these different type of ethnicities and people from different regions, and they're from different places, and they're nice. The Leadership Without Borders, David T, let's see. Oh, you do a Leadership Without Borders. There's someone else who else is that? Oh, Rosa is in Leadership Without Borders. Can you explain what Leadership Without Borders is?
Yeah, so Leadership Without Borders a space for undocumented students can come to have, they provide them with resources, as like if you don't have enough money to pay for book, they sponsor you, so you don't have to worry about your book. And if you like need like to renew your DACA, they can kind of revise your DACA for you. And then there's other financial where they can pay for your DACA. And then if and they do a lot of like panels where they talk about like knowing your rights. So they go over undocumented people rights, and then what to do if something happened, and they like helping you to educate your family. So it's a lot of resources where undocumented student can get and be able to manage, like guide them, like if anything happened, they already have all those resources.
So being undocumented, is that a hard thing for you? Is it not a big deal? Like help people to understand how you manage that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit tough. Like especially go in UW, like not like where like mostly everybody's like white and stuff like that. I feel like just purple group, just having that group there and then like helping you out and just feeling that you're not by yourself, and then just like having that, just that group makes you feel more safe. And there's like, it's kind of like, if you think of it's a bit hard, but like you're able to navigate it. Like there's so many resources, but they're not out there. They don't put it like out there for you to find. You have to actually talk to people, get connection in order to find those resources. So that's why Leadership with the Border like provide you those resources without you having to go dig in like to find those.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit hard, but you're able to manage it. Like if you be able, if you have the correct connection, you're able to get through college.
Yeah. Would you say, roughly how many students are part of that organization, or how many are undocumented?
So for Leadership Without Borders, there's like 100+ people that I know that are in there, and a purple group, it's like a more smaller one, since not that much people know about it. There are like usually 20, 30 students in there.
Yeah. So for anybody watching this who's like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. Like there's a community for me. There are these people who are living this life I want to live. You can look and explore who's part of the Purple Group or who's part of Leadership Without Borders, because that stuff's probably accessible to the public, right, Rosa?
Yes.
Yeah. So you find that, and then you see what high schools are these people from? What are their majors? And you can reach out to them. Again, like Rosa, if someone reached out to you and said, I saw you were part of this, would you be welcoming and answer questions?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, like that's the coolest thing. And that's this part of like your dreams are so close. And you all are amazing. I mean, I said that before, but like what you deal with and what you are able to navigate and how you do it without it even seeming like it's a big deal is remarkable, and it's incredible. I'm excited. We should do this again in like 5 years. I'm so excited to see where you all are going to be in 5 years, because I mean it's exciting. It's like amazing. Oh, it's the coolest thing. Okay, real quick, like a round table of like, what are some of the other places where are some of the other places at UW where you found friends, where you found connection, where you found community, where you're like, I wish that I had known about this. And this speaks to Gear Up being this amazing place where you find connection and community. Then you get to this big campus. It's kind of scary, as you were saying, David. How do you even know where to go first? And I'll start with you, and we'll just do a quick circle. David Cueva, where are some of the places you really were able to find that connection and community, like right from the start?
Yeah, so for sure, camp was one of them. Stars was another thing. I think maybe more specifically stars, because like a lot of us had to take sort of like all the same classes for like 2 years. And like I feel that like once all of you just kind of start struggling on the same things together, that sort of like you start building bonds. So that one way I did that. And then I guess another club that I was part of too. It was called Gen 1. It was something actually brand new that I helped found. So it's this club for like it's for students in CS, and basically yeah, just for any first generation students. And I remember hearing about this because I just got an email saying that like, hey, there are a couple of us that want to create this brand new club in the CS department for first generation students. And I thought it would be like really cool to do, because like I was able to be part of like so many of these first generation programs, and to think that I'd be able to like bring something new into UW, especially in the computer science department, where like a lot of us first generation students are more at a disadvantage, considering that like a lot of people there had parents who worked for like Microsoft or Google or Facebook, or like people that are in the industry, people who already know like all the industry secrets. They already know, have all the connections. Yeah, because like I said, I had the opportunity to be in all these programs, but not everyone necessarily has it. So for me to be able to like create something else so that other students can also be a part of, I think that was I think that was a big highlight of my college career.
So that's G1 or Gen 1.
Gen 1, yeah.
Gen 1. All right, cool. I want to make sure we're going to include the link to this. So if there's anyone, I mean, this is what's so cool is that whoever sees this, wherever they are, maybe not even in Washington, it could be someone who's a first gen student, who's an international student. Anybody can join this and be a part of it. So the legacy of what you're creating can live on, which is like, and then when people want connections, I was joking before, but like you're the hookup at Microsoft, like you're a first gen person at Microsoft. And when you're at Microsoft, it'll be really cool. And you probably already know this, because I feel like you kind of know a lot, but finding some mentors there, finding other people who are first gen, who have been through that, because just like you feel such an emotional attachment and wanting to help, there's people at Microsoft who are going to be like, you know, I see me and him, and I know what that's like, and I want to help. Have you thought about that as well?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I had asked for like help for like so many times. I also kind of want to kind of give back in that same way of like if someone was in the same shoes that I was years ago, I can sort of like sympathize with that. Like yes, I know where you're coming from, and like I don't like I'd be very happy to help. I'd be happy to give you advice. Sort of like this is how I sort of went through like these issues or whatever.
Yeah. And then taking advantage of people who are, who are at these places where you work, who are doing the things you want to do. And David, like that superintendent who is a first gen, who's been there and done it. David T, I'm talking to about, they're gonna be excited for you. You got a good story, man. Like you have such good stuff. David T, tell me, like, what are some places where someone who arrives on campus can find some connection and community?
I mean, usually I would suggest ACC and Purple Group, but other than that, it's usually I feel like I made a lot of friends through the dorms, but also like clubs. Um, a lot of clubs you can get your hands on, anything that interests you. Definitely brings more of people that follow the same interests. That's kind of like the big thing with like any groups you find. You usually start making those small connections, and then the next thing you know, you're hanging out like every day. And the thing is, like, I feel like UW is that huge networking aspect. You meet someone who's part of a program that next thing you know, you're going to be a part of too. And I feel like that was really my case a lot. I met someone who really strived to be something else, and I kind of like had similar ambitions. And next thing you know, I'd be joining that group and kind of keep pursuing the same stuff. But it's just all kind of like
Yeah.
including yourself in interest that you want. That's the thing. It's going to be a lot of your own interests, a lot of your own things that you want to do, and seeing that the same people have similar interests as well.
Right. And then the other part is you got to be on campus, because if you're always at home every weekend, you're not going to be able to participate. I know, Rosa, you were speaking about that. It's like, these activities and these organizations and the events, a lot of times they happen on the weekends, and you're hanging out. So if you're with your family, which is wonderful, you sometimes can't do those things. I think that's, uh, you know, it reminded me of that, David, when you were talking about you meet one person who knows one other person, but you got to be out there meeting the people. Flora, what about you? What are some places that you can recommend students find connection and community when they get to campus?
Just kind of going off with David said, clubs. For me, I joined the Korean Student Association and Japanese Student Association. And I also did a international and English language program, which is basically becoming an English partner for international students. And that was something like really interesting for me, because I kind of want to like learn about different cultures and kind of like gain a global perspective.
And are you Korean or Japanese? Can I ask you that?
No, I'm Mexican American.
Okay. Well, I think that's also a really great thing to mention, is that you don't need to be one of the things that's identified in the association to participate in it, correct?
Yeah, because like I feel like for them, they just also wanted to like have other people learn about their culture and have like a better understanding of what they're going through as well.
Right. And do they ever have like nights where they have food and stuff too?
Yeah, there were definitely nights where they have like Korean food or Japanese food. So yeah.
Right. I've been to campuses, and the different associations will have these amazing meals. And I'm like, why aren't I speaking with that association? I want to eat that. I want to eat that food. Uh, I'm just curious, being Mexican, identifying as Mexican, uh, is that hard? I mean, are there a lot of Mexican students at UW?
Um, from what like the only people I know was from camp. So from other than that, like I feel like I didn't really see as much Mexican people.
Yeah. Were people interested in learning about being Mexican? Did they have any thoughts about you being Mexican? Was that ever a challenge for you or a source of discomfort?
Honestly, I feel like I never had people like ask me about like what it's like being Mexican.
Yeah. Did anybody have those issues or challenges with people? So everybody was pretty welcoming and it wasn't an issue. Because I think when you are the minority, uh, it's hard to know what people are thinking. And it seems that UW's a welcoming place for you, which is cool. Raul, give me a little sense of you do a lot, man. I mean, you all do a lot, but what are some of the places where students can find some connection and community?
As David already mentioned, the ECC, it's a great place since it's like it hosts a lot of the club events that happen here on campus. So going there, you can find a lot of RSOs, which are registered student organizations, are the clubs. And that's pretty much where I found SHIP, which is Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And as you mentioned, you don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to be Hispanic to join SHIP. They want to just put SHIP out there, and like they want others to learn and just like have participation. So you don't have to be specifically what the RSO it's intended for to join the RSO. Other than SHIP, there's LSAM. A lot of people don't know this, but in Mary Gates, where OMAD, the Office of Minority Academic Affairs, is located in Mary Gates Hall. There's a lot of URM, underrepresented minority offices in the third floor. And one of the offices, it's the LSAMP office, where there's free printing. That's literally like the main thing from there. There's free printing, so you don't have to pay for printing. They provide you a lot of support. They also have events and many things like that. And you get to make a lot of connections there as well. And it just branches out, you know, once you're at some place, they get to hear about other clubs and you just go from there.
Awesome. Rosa, do you have any suggestions of places where people can find some pretty quick connection and community, especially new students?
I feel like everyone covered most all of it, but I think one of it, like I mentioned, was the Dream Project. So if students are interested in working with students, or just like maybe they want a paid internship, because Dream Project, they have paid internship. It's really good for like first generation when they don't have to like work and like do an internship, because there's so many internships that aren't paid. So Dream Project provide that, so you get to work with students, and then from there you can build more connection. And that's how I got one of my job, is through Dream Project. And then from there, the middle school, I built some connection there, and I got my job.
I feel like this is like the master hack of like, how can you land at UW and be able to like get through this, right? Like, I mean, this stuff is gold. So I'm really happy. I just have a couple more questions for you. And I'm curious if any of you really struggled academically or emotionally, like if any of you had a time in your college career where you almost quit. I know, David, you mentioned a little bit about your first semester, that being so difficult. Um, is there anybody else, who had an uncomfortable moment? Raul, you seem like you got so many things going on, man, but was there an uncomfortable moment where you just really questioned yourself, your abilities, weren't sure you'd be able to get through this?
Yeah, sometimes staying busy, it's tough. Back home, my mom was sick for some of last year. She got some surgeries, and so did my dad. And as I mentioned earlier, it's tough, like not being able to be there. So like it brings your like your motivation down, and you feel a little bit depressed sometimes. But it's things that happen, and you just have to keep moving forward.
How'd you get through that?
Just primarily communicating, talking to them, staying in contact, asking them if they needed anything. You know, like it's 3 hours away, but if it's an emergency, family comes first. So I could always be there. And as I already mentioned, they were pretty understanding. So they mentioned to me they told me to focus on my academics, and they would be fine.
And they are, and it worked out.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to be away and to deal with that. Rosa, did you have an uncomfortable experience, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's just on campus, where you were like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I can do this?
I think just like it's nice being away from family, but also it kind of get overwhelming with classes and everything. Like for me, there's time where I take 15, 70 credits, and exam day gets overwhelming, and then not having my family there. Like I feel like one of the hardest thing was like not being able to speak my native language with people. Like since I speak Mixteco, like back home, I'm able to speak that with my family, and then on campus, I don't have no one to speak that, and sometimes I see that I'm losing that part of me, which like gets really overwhelming. So there's time where I just like go home, like even if I have so many things, I just go home, spend some time with my family, talk to them, like being there with them, and then come back, and I feel like much better. And then from there, I like start all over again and like keep going.
So you just kind of refuel.
Yeah.
You get empty, and then you need that, and you figured out how to balance it so you don't have to go every weekend,
Yes.
but you let your tank empty. That's great. Floor, how about you? Was there something that happened that was uncomfortable, that was difficult, that was your greatest challenge?
I think for me, since like I failed 2 classes in the 4 years that I've been at UW, and for me, it kind of like last year I was at a point where like I don't even know what I wanted to major anymore, like what I wanted to do. But luckily, Rosa like recommended me the American Ethnic Studies major, and I was like, you know what, like I'll take classes in spring and see how it is. And when I took those classes, I actually became more interested. You know, my GPA started going up, and I felt like more like interested in what I wanted to learn, and that was something that was like really helpful for me.
So did you say you failed 2 classes?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's helpful. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you failed, and like you're still here. So when you fail classes, do they throw you out? Like, do you lose your scholarships? Is it like the world ends?
I don't know. For me, it worked out all well. I don't think I lost any money at all.
Right, it works out for you. Like when you fail these classes, do you get like a 0? Do you get an F?
Yeah, 0.0 GPA.
Right, you smile as you say it. It's like, but then are you able to take classes in the summer? Like, how are you able to rebound from that?
Yeah, I took classes last summer just to like get caught up with the major that I am in right now. So I was able to like so right now I'll be able to graduate on time.
And do you know why you failed those classes?
I think because I'm just not good in science.
So they were science classes.
Yeah.
Right. And then why did you take them?
For me, because like I still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, you know, like maybe I wanted to do something in science in that area, but then I realized I wasn't that good in it. So yeah.
It's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you really enjoyed it, you probably would have done well, because clearly you are very, very smart, because you don't get to where you are if you aren't bright. And I think that's really interesting, changing. The idea of changing your majors. Anybody else change their major? No, just Floor, right? But you can change. I think that sometimes people get really narrowly focused and think that they can't change. Just circling back to, is there anyone in high school that really helped you that you still stay in touch with, and how do they help you? Floor, do you have anybody who you're still in contact with?
I don't think so. I don't think.
No? No, I'm just curious. I mean, there's no right answer for that. Do any of you have anyone who you've stayed in touch with? David, tell me. David Telex.
I mean, some people here that go to UW since high school, but also like I still have a friend back in high school who stayed in Skagit. I think some Rosa and Flora know him too. Ishmael. I don't know if you guys still talk to him, but I just stay in contact with him because we kind of just support each other just through like text and calls. Just because we know that even though we're in like different spots in our lives, you know, we might not talk as much compared to like back in high school. We just support each other because we know that even now, like in college, we are gonna keep going into a career that we might not even talk then, but still valuing like, oh, hey, we're gonna shoot up a text and see how our whole lives have changed or how much we've been doing to just catch up.
Nice. Anybody else have anyone that, like a teacher or a professional or someone who's in your corner who you're still in contact with? David or Rosa?
For me, like it's not high school, but it's my second grade teacher, Miss Jones. I still have contact with her. I'm friend with her on Facebook, and then she always tell me that once I graduate from college, we just reach out with her, and she gave me a job. So like she's like I don't know, like she's been like huge part of me ever since then. Like during Christmas, we like invite her for some pozole and stuff like that. But yeah, she's like a really great teacher. Like I still call her Miss Jones, although like I can call her by her name, but I always see her as my teacher.
How did Miss Jones become so important in your life? Was there an event?
I think during second grade, since I wasn't really well speaking English, she tried her best. Like she kind of know Spanish a little, so she talked to me Spanish. She was very welcome. And then before I was in second grade, she was my older sister's teacher, so she knew my sisters, and she was like really friendly with us. And then with my younger siblings, she was teacher with them. And then now she's in the Burlington district, and then my niece and nephew are over there, so she kind of helped those. So she's like part of our family.
Oh, that's wonderful. So she's been in your corner and has been rooting for you.
Yes.
And I think that's not being able to speak the language and then having someone who can connect with you, who really meant it. It was so emotionally invested. That's the best. People don't realize, a lot of teachers don't realize it's those grade school teachers who really help you to believe in yourself, right? That helps you to know that you're worthy and deserving of everything you want. Would you say that that's accurate, that she helped to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I'm coming to the end of this. I just have one final question. Um, First of all, before I ask my final question, is there anything any of you want to clear up that we talked about? Anything that you were like, oh, I wish I had mentioned this, or I wish I had mentioned that, that you want other people to know or hear, or you want to explain further? No? I think we've done a pretty good job. It's great. You've shared so much. I mean, you all have like had this amazing adventure, and I'm just so grateful to have the chance to know you. And I want to stay in touch. For any of you, if there's anybody in my network that you want to know, like find me on LinkedIn, and we'll be connect on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Facebook, or you can find me anywhere. And if you're like, oh, that person does something interested, or that person does something interesting, and I have some friends who are in tech and do a lot of work in startups and the CS stuff, and you got a lot going on in Washington, but gosh, I am just rooting for you. I want you all to be so successful and so happy and just filled up in every way. So if you could go back in time and you could see high school you, so David C, you're going back to Toppenish, you're walking the halls, as you, this adult with facial hair, uh, going to high school, people wondering why is this man walking through the halls, but somehow you got in and you're able to see freshman David. What would you tell you that would help you to make life a little bit easier?
It's a good question. I'd say I'd probably say something like, really any opportunity you see, no matter how far out there, just to go for it, because you never know how taking those risks might end up paying it off, might be paying off. Because even if there's like a 1% chance of something happening, there's still a chance for it to happen. So just go for it.
That's the rejection stuff. You're going to be unstoppable. Like I know it. Like I meet people. I mean, you're all going to be unstoppable, but like just how clear you are with that. Like that's not something most people can do. Just so you know, I don't know if you know that. Like that is such a great gift. So it's exciting. I'm excited for it because it's like a superpower, to be able to think that and still know you're worthy and good enough, especially when you're in such a competitive environment. So anyway, I'm not supposed to talk so much, but like I get excited when I hear that because I'm like, man, like that's good. Took me forever to figure that out. All right, Rosa. So you are going to walk through the halls of Mount Vernon. I know those halls. You're at Mount Vernon High School. You can just imagine parking and walking into that hallway in the library on the right. You're kind of outside there, and you see Rosa turn the corner out of the library, and you're like, hey, Rosa, what would you tell freshman you?
I'll tell myself that although parents might be upset of your decision, just don't give up. Just like they might be mad for like a couple of days. Don't overthink about it, and whatever, if there's something that you want to do, just go for it, because like everything's gonna be fine. Don't overthink too much about stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I heard the birds. I love that you have birds. I think birds are special. When birds make noise, it's like something real's happening, right? They feel it, like they feel the emotion. Let's see. David T, if you can go back in time, you're walking around you're walking back in high school, you see grown-up Floor walk by, and you're like, hey, grown-up Floor, wow, are you talking to freshman you? And she's like, yeah, I can't find me. And you're like, oh, she's down there. So David, but you see freshman David. This story's getting confusing. I don't even need to add that. It's so ridiculous. But basically, David T, you see freshman you. What do you tell you?
Honestly, the biggest thing would be not to worry so much. I feel like there's a lot that you're gonna be doing, but worrying doesn't help. I feel like that's the one thing I really would push. Worrying does not help.
Yeah.
It just causes you more stress. And thinking about what you're achieving so far, what progress you made, even during high school, compared to like, you know, any like my parents, I would say like being a first generation student, even going to high school is a huge thing. But coming to college, kind of even though all of us are, I would say we're humble about like our beginnings and even being this far, but taking some pride of it, because I know from my aspect, my parents are kind of difficult sharing that, being prideful or being like proud of me. But I know all of us do deserve to be prideful in that aspect, just because we're first gen, working hard, but we're not giving up. And that's kind of like the biggest thing that I would keep repeating to myself, but even to future first gen people.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, because I can say it again and again, but like when you say it, it just means more. And I mean, you all deserve to celebrate, like to celebrate yourself. And no matter who's watching this and what grade they're in, like just celebrate, because what you've been through and how you get through it is extraordinary. And you don't give yourself credit to celebrate. So the joy of just you taking pride in that is just something that I hope you'll hang on to. So thanks for reminding everybody, David. Floor, if you could go back in time, you get to see freshman Floor, who's just going through it, just doing it. What would you tell you?
I would tell her to be more involved, actually, to be like join clubs and do volunteer work, because I feel like for me, like throughout high school, I didn't really like try anything. It wasn't until like senior year. And if I had the opportunity to meet freshman Floor, I would tell her, like go out there, get more experience, because I honestly feel like if I did that freshman year, I would be able to know what I wanted to do when I entered college. So yeah.
Do you think freshman Floor would have listened to you or been like, go away?
I feel like she would have been like kind of shy, be like, I don't know if I should do this or not. But I feel like David Cueva said, like doesn't hurt to take any risk.
Yeah. Awesome. Raul, if you could go back in time, get to see high school Raul walking through the freshman hallways with his soccer ball, right? Because you were playing a lot of soccer, right? You were carrying your soccer ball, I imagine, right?
Sometimes I would.
Right. That's what it was like. So you see that guy, maybe you like hit the soccer ball out of his arm first just to get his attention. And then you're like, hey man, it's me. What would you tell you?
Some very good question. Something that I would probably start off would be think bigger, because when I started high school, I was thinking of this perspective. You already did kind of good in middle school. You surpassed the standards that you initially had for yourself. So you're gonna be able to do great in high school, but try to do more than like don't start with that mentality that B's are fine. Try to go high and achieve the A's, because you're able to, and then be involved from the beginning, as everyone else mentioned. One of the things that made David and I close, and that's why we stayed in contact when he came to UW, was soccer. We were both in the soccer team, and then also robotics. And so like it's these clubs, these RSOs now at UW, but it's these clubs that help you make connections and eventually help you later on in life.
What if it's scary to go in and walk in? And what if your friends don't do the things that you're encouraging them to do? Like, how do they walk in that room? How do they do it if it's just not the cool thing, or they're not comfortable doing it? What would you tell them to do to get in that organization?
And that's actually something that happened when I joined robotics. My friends were like, "Oh, you're joining robotics, so you're not gonna be able to go play soccer after school anymore." And I actually didn't play for the school my junior year. And even though they were looking at me like, why are you like leaving us? That's not so cool or whatnot. We ended up going to nationals to Florida, and at that point they were like, "All right, how do we join robotics? Because this seems like interesting." And just proving to them, showing some of the recognition, as David T mentioned earlier. We don't like to take pride in our achievements, but it's fine to put it out there. I would tell myself it's fine to put it out there, because sometimes that's what encourages others to see what's achievable.
Yeah, it's very brave to put that out there. And I'm just so grateful that you can put this out there. And I hope that there are people who are listening, students who are listening, and students who are in Gear Up or in any program, wherever they are, who can see the path. Because the joy of doing this is like anybody can go anywhere, right? Like you could do anything. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. David Cueva, did you tell me your dream? David C?
My dream of like
Yeah, your
what?
dream job. Do you have one?
Not necessarily. Like I said, I'm in CS, but I don't necessarily know what I want to do in like CS related. But like that's why I'm taking like all of these classes, just trying to figure out what it is I want.
Right. Okay. Because once you pick it, you'll get it.
Mhm.
Once you choose it, I'm sure of it. So have fun with that. Right. That's going to be great because there's no, and for all of you, there's no limit. And I'm really grateful to have this time with you. So thanks for being so generous. Thanks for sharing so much of your life. And if there's anybody out there who wants to connect with David or Flor or Raul or David or Rosa, you can reach out to them. We've included their information and they're going to respond to you one more time. Like, you're cool with that, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
Yep.
Like, they're in your corner. So like, take advantage of that and know that they're going to be there for you. And I would love to be here for you as well. I'm Harlan Cohen. This is a college conversation. This has been Before College TV. I'm so grateful to be here with you. Let me know what I can do to help you. And I look forward to continuing this conversation and being in your corner. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.